and then to explain the exercise that would follow.
Okay.
So if you want to change that, then of course you just need to move it around.
Oh, good God. There's 3 slides missing there. So it was 4 slides we needed. 1, objectives of the workshop. A second with the 4 hats. That one. A third with the timetable. And a 4th, I forget what the 4th one was. Can we have the sound, please? Is it? It is working. Good, good. We'll just wait for up to 5 minutes for more people to come, then we'll get started.
That's fine.
Okay.
Let's put it in the workshop folder.
Can we do the merging? Or?
So I'm trying to come on.
No, I don't think you can. Probably you cannot copy there.
That's what I'm just thinking.
No.
So you want to import?
Yes.
Or just maybe, I think what was quicker is you need this slide. Just copy that one into the presentation.
At the beginning. Okay. You can copy all of them because they are
Already.
and then the time schedules. And also the heads. Not this one, but the other one.
Okay.
After the workshop objectives.
1 second, we're there. Here? Or?
After the objectives, yeah.
Okay.
But like a format you use.
That's a ledger.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay then. Just adjust this one.
You need to change and extend the bar.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready? Yes. Done.
Okay,
Excellent.
Okay.
So is the first slide objectives?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So then it's the hats.
3 questions. Good.
Time schedule.
Excellent. Perfect. Yeah. Could you put it back to the beginning? That's great.
Okay.
Just leave that starting to 3. Okay, we'll wait 2 more minutes. Okay, don't be shy, come to the front. We'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Great. I'm Ray Boguslavsky. I'm working with the European Commission Joint Research Centre. Welcome to our workshop today on EULF and ARE3NA. So, 2 acronyms. Apart from those in the EULF and ARE3NA teams, who has heard of EULF? Hands up. That's good. I'm pleased. Who else has heard of ARE3NA? Very good. Whew, that's a relief. Hands up who hasn't put their hands up and who's not in the team. Wow, we have a great audience. So thank you very much. You've all participated, and that's really good. But it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop here. The questions will get a little more difficult. So the idea of this workshop is that you'll hear a bit about EULF and ARE3NA just to orientate the session, and then we want to get as much as possible in terms of your contributions. So, what are the objectives? To understand current and future activities in the e-government area that relate to geospatial, exchange ideas on what's been done. So that means we'd really like your input. Sharing any experience on how things have been applied so far. And get an overview of what's happening on the new ELISE project, which is just starting and follows on from EULF and ARE3NA. And for us in the team, that's the really important part. We need your input to help us shape the direction. And if we've not thought of something, and there's just one idea coming from all of you today, then that would be brilliant. So, the way we're going to do it is to ask people to take the position of people involved in e-government, either as providers or users, starting with policymakers, public sector data providers. A lot of this is about sharing data and using data in government services or sharing data for private sector use. The third hat will be e-government service providers, so owners of public services, and those who are responsible for managing the services or building the services. And finally, private sector product and service providers. They want government geodata to improve their products and services. So what should government do for them? So some of you may not fit into those categories. Some of you may fit into more than one of those categories. We'll figure that out. We'll have some working sessions where we cover some simple questions. Taking your role, what are your needs? From activities like ARE3NA and EULF, which build on INSPIRE. So it's not INSPIRE questions, it's EULF and ARE3NA. What do you need from EULF and ARE3NA? You'll hear about what we've done. You all know something already, so that's a good start, but we'll play back the picture just just to get things oriented, we'll ask you, have these needs been met? And we want you, as quickly as possible, to get to the third question: what can be done to fill the gaps? Things that we haven't done, things that you think we should be doing but aren't in the ELISE plans. We want to know, how can we fill the gaps? We're looking for ideas. And there's two other questions, I should say. The first question, the most important question, is for each of the groups. We need, the first question is, who's going to write down the output of the group and who's going to present it? So before you get started, answer that most important question. And we prefer that that is someone not in the immediate team, someone who's participating in the workshop. So please volunteer. And while you hear the presentation, have a think about what role you best fit in. And also think about what your alternative role might be, because we may have to move the numbers around. So do that, please, while you're listening to the presentations. In terms of timing, we started a little bit late. I do want us to take up the hour and a half, so we will run a little bit over. We've got 15 minutes, no more, of presentations on EULF and ARE3NA. Then, for those three questions, I'd like you to spend 40 minutes addressing those questions in your groups, and then we'll have 3 minutes feedback from each of the groups. And I'll play back at the end what I think I've heard. And during your sessions, please, if there's anything that isn't in those three questions that is on your mind and you really want to share it with us, then please say anything else. Put an anything else point in there as well. So that's it, and I hope we'll have some good participation, some good ideas. I'll just hand over first of all to Francesco Pinitelli to present EULF.
Take this one. You can. This one works. Yes, working. Yeah. Thank you, Ray, and thank you all for being here at this time in the morning, and also considering there are other two interesting workshops in parallel. So I'll try to be very fast because we are a bit late. So EULF is an initiative that now is running from 2 to 3 years, and where we focused on 5 areas. And we want try to promote INSPIRE as an infrastructure for a range of policy areas, including e-government, transport, marine, and energy. You will see some of the pilot that we developed. With this presentation, I'll give you just a flavor because we don't have the time to go through. And the idea would be also to try to remove obstacles to the free flow of data in support of the digital single market, which is one of the priorities of the Commission. And also, we would like to identify and promote opportunities also for the private sector to be involved. And the 5 focus areas are policy and policy alignment, governance and partnership, e-government integration, standardization, interoperability, also return on investment. How we developed this framework. We have done a survey and assessment in the member states to see where we were with this implementation of INSPIRE in government. We developed a vision, and we went through a series of reference of project, and we did a kind of landscape analysis. Then we defined a high-level guidance framework, which is the blueprint, which is now went through a series of iteration, also considering feedback from member states, and now we are going to finalize by the end of the year. One company is working for us to help us also as well. And then we have a series of detailed guidance that we have a list, and this will be published by the end of the year on e-procurement, location privacy, and architecture and data standard, and so on. We have also identified more than 20 case study, best practice in member states, fact sheet we published. We also were running some pilots in different areas to see in which way INSPIRE can help other directive with the infrastructure, with the approach. As for some of the pilots which were more complicated, more wide, we had to do a feasibility study to understand if the ambitions were right or were too much for us. We also trying to understand the benefit for each of these applications, and which is not easy sometimes, but we try. And we are also developing a methodology to assess this. These are the detailed guidelines I was mentioning before: policy alignment guidelines, location privacy, public procurement, location-enabled e-government services, architecture standard for SDI and e-government. These are only a subset of the document. As I said, we are trying to move from INSPIRE, from the environmental domain, to other sector. So try to develop government to business exchange of data. For example, in the transport sector, we developed a pilot, try to serve the purpose of the Intelligent Transport System Directive. On the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, try to use INSPIRE in also to serve this other environmental reporting obligation. And then also we are now developing one of our goal for the future will be also to use INSPIRE in the energy sector for different energy directive, various. The marine pilot, as I said, is serving now, the overall concept in a nutshell is that each member states have to report to different obligations on a different environment directive, Marine Strategy Framework Directive, Water Framework Directive, Habitats Directive, and sometimes they have to put the same data in different formats. What we are trying to do, if the member states will expose the data according to INSPIRE model, then the analysis and processing can be done at central level, and also the indicator can be done not by member states, but directly from EA or Commission services. So that's why we want to try to encourage the fact that you put the data only once and be reused many times for different directives. Another interesting potential application is on the energy domain, where several directives require data with different scale and accuracy. And we have energy performance of building directive, energy efficiency directive, and so on. So this we can move. INSPIRE can help facilitate the collection, harmonization, elaboration, access, and sharing of this data at building level, district level, regional and national level. So that's something we are trying to do. And if you are interested in this type of experience, tomorrow morning Giacomo will give you a bit more information on this. We are starting now with the use case one, and at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning there is this presentation. Another interesting application is where INSPIRE is used by EARE and TomTom, which are two big private companies that for updating their map in the navigator, in our car, they need consistent, accurate, and up-to-date data from the road authorities. Many times you have your navigator tells you that the speed limit is 80 or is 60 and is 80 or up. So you don't know, it's not updated. So what normally the situation so far was that the public administration are not encouraged to give this information to the private players. So what we are trying to do, we try to use INSPIRE standard as much as I can, the transport network data. And the exchange of data has been done in a standardized way in Norway and Sweden. And because of that type of information, the maps error reduced from 25% to 7%, and also this private company didn't have to have different contract at regional, national level. All the update they will have, and so the advantage is that they can have this information in a more standardized process. Digimove liked a lot this idea, and now is proposing a SEF action, support action, to implement this concept also in other member states. We are going to develop also probably in the future some EU gazetteer on geonames, administrative units, address are all important to develop other solutions, and that's what it's very ambitious, but we are now launching feasibility studies with our subcontractor, and we will try to tackle this issue as well. What we learned so far? Okay, the demand for location information is growing. All location-based services are increasing, also the application, and this will create a lot of job creation. The private sector is increasingly asking for this data from public administration, and this can develop also work. But better partnership is important and is not easy to achieve. There are also the difficulty that we are INSPIRE, we know each other, but when you start to talk with other community, transport, energy sector, they are not used to talk with us, each other. So the fact to link together two different communities is not so straightforward. So you need it's a challenge.
Francesco, can I ask you to wind up, please?
Yes. Okay, so that's more or less what we learned. Technological impact is important. Technology is changing so fast, and so on. So I leave the floor to Robin, which give you also an overview of the arena, what we have done so far, and he will conclude with ELISE, which is what we will do. Thank you.
Okay, there's things called lightning talks. I'm Scottish, I talk quickly, so now I'm going to talk really quickly. I have about 2 minutes to present ARENA, and essentially what we've tried to do is be the semantic and technical geospatial part, following ISA's frameworks. You can go to Join Up and find a lot of the tools and services that we've produced. For example, access control, the registry tools, the sensor observation services with 52 North, the validation tools the new ones you maybe heard this week, and working on how INSPIRE could be reused using other technologies like RDF. How can we get the data and metadata in ways that other systems can use outside typically GIS contexts? Plus the reference platform, which is the leaflet that some of you will be sitting on at the moment, and I'll come back to that in a second. Let me dive into a little bit more detail. So our flagship product is the registry. This is a code list management tool. It helps you share reference codes in INSPIRE so you can inject the right kind of codes into your databases when you do transformations and label INSPIRE data in the right way for metadata and for data. But we've built it in a way, it's a reusable tool for anybody in e-government that wants to share reference codes, and it's free. And we're developing it further as part of a federation so that a lot of the reference codes in the member states as well as the central ones in INSPIRE can be shared. So it's a nice example of the kind of work that we do. We build a tool that helps INSPIRE implementation, but it's useful for other people in e-government. And it can be used also by the member states. That's quite a big scope, but we really achieved it with the registry, and it really is becoming a success. Any member states that want to join the federation, you can talk to us after. Then we've dealt with other things in ISA, such as e-government. Access control, we gave a presentation on that yesterday. There are barriers to the free flow of data, according to the digital single market, or at least our interpretation of it, and some of those are technical. So we've explored that kind of topic, and that's the kind of topic that ISA have been dealing with, trying to create single sign-on mechanisms for all e-government in Europe. And the questions we raise are, what role will INSPIRE play in such activities? Then we've been working with other partners in the ISA programme, particularly the SEMIC action that deals with semantic interoperability, and looked at things like the core location vocabulary, but also how INSPIRE data could be represented in RDF. And maybe some of you have heard about GeoDCAT AP, how we can use particularly INSPIRE data reused in open data portals. Then I invite you to visit GitHub, because you can go and see the developments of the abstract test suites, the executable test suites, and our new beta reference validator for INSPIRE data, metadata, and services. And there's a demonstration actually on lunchtime on this, so I won't say any more now. Jumping back to the reference platform, we now call it INSPIRE in Practice. I mentioned the leaflet that's on the seats. It's an opportunity for us to exchange information as solution providers, as implementers, as people eventually building applications on top of INSPIRE to show how the story fits. And I'd personally like to thank some of you in the room today already for starting to do the work around the platform, and also to play the game that we're running at the conference, where apart from anything else you can start to win headphones that ISA have kindly provided us with when people document some examples, and there'll be prizes at the end of the conference. Let me now dive from what was ARE3NA, I said I would be brief, into what is ELISE. So, of course, INSPIRE is still very much the core of our activity. It's what the GRC's business is about. But ELISE offers lots of opportunities to engage with other policy areas, particularly as the EULF have done in their pilots. So we continue to look into areas to do with intelligent transport systems, real-time traffic management, also areas following the EULF pilots in the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, Energy Performance of Buildings and Energy Efficiency Directive, plus as more high-level policies coming from the EC, the Digital Single Market and better regulation. And there I'll just dive in a little bit more, because this is a real opportunity for us to start to share some experience of data interoperability through something called ICT assessments that Margarita mentioned in her keynote presentation yesterday. And this is a great way for us to be able to share ideas and evidence with policymakers across the Commission when they want to share geographical information. Why not look at how we do it, let's say specifically in INSPIRE, plus the evidence that we've been gathering through ARE3NA and EULF. Of course, the Public Sector Information Directive remains a key aspect of how data can be shared, so open data policies relate to that. And also, maybe you're less aware, ISA programs like a research and development program, but once solutions get to a very mature level, there's also the Connecting Europe facility. And under the Connecting Europe facility, member states can apply for funding to do more. So watch that space. I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, but essentially where this diagram gives you a sense that the yellow bars are what ARE3NA and EULF were doing over the last 4 years. Our ambition is very high. Our budget, it reflects that, we hope. But essentially, we're going to do a lot more, and we're also increasing the scope. And I've already mentioned digital single market and better regulation for ICT assessments. But at the same time, because the ISA Squared program is not only for public administrations, but also businesses and citizens, the idea is that our work will also start to engage more. So there was already some mention of, for example, the EULF pilot on transport is about trying to get data into business activities. Let's explore that. Let's understand where the added value is. Let's do some economic assessments around this to really understand what is the available data and how it's making sense for people. We'll continue to provide tools. We'll make further developments, for example, in the validator. We'll try and take some of our products to that mature level in the Connecting Europe facility. So again, registry, our key product. How could we really make it as a major reusable tool as part of e-government across Europe? So there's going to be some support activity to people in the Commission, and we call it the Geospatial Knowledge Centre. That's mainly the business in the JRC, but the evidence from that we'll also share as guidelines and examples for people in the Member States. And just to say, there are some of these structures in ISA to do with interoperability, so the European Interoperability Strategy, European Interoperability Framework. We're going to bring our experience and basically make sure that spatial data infrastructures are recognised as part of the architectures in the European Commission to do with interoperability. That's it. That's the introduction, because we don't have time for more, but then we can maybe dive in. Sorry, Francesco.
Sorry, I just want to inform you that for the future release, the way we interact with the member states is through ISA committee and working group. Now DIGIT is asking each member states to nominate people in each country, and we received already a preliminary list. On the top of my mind, I remember that there are countries that didn't nominate yet their contact point. So, for example, UK, Austria, and Germany, but there are others as well. So, if you can connect with these people to have the formal nomination, would be good. So you can follow the process and give us guidance in the future. So, I think by the end of the year we need to have the first meeting. So, just a reminder for you. Thank you.
So thank you, Robin and Francesco. So you can see we're continuing in a broad direction with ELISE, following on from EULF and ARE3NA, but we're raising the ambition. And if we raise the ambition, then that means we can do bigger and better things, but it also increases the risk that we're investing in the wrong things or doing them in the wrong way. So your inputs to help us shape that direction are really important. As I said at the beginning, and I know there were some people arriving after the orientation, we're going to divide up into 4 groups for the question and answer, and we want each of you to take on a particular role. So think from the perspective of someone in each of these roles. And these are policymaker, public sector data provider, e-government service provider, and private sector product and service provider. So if you feel, who feels best placed to fulfill the role of a policymaker? No one? Data policy, making legislation. Over to that. We do not need to be precise. So, I'm going to divide everyone equally. So, if your first choice was policymaker, please go there. If your second choice was policymaker, also please go there. No, okay. There will be policymakers, I can guarantee. Okay, we do need to do this quickly. So, if your first choice was data provider, go to the left at the back. If you see too many people going there, then right at the back is e-government service provider. And if you want to leave, please apologize. Private sector is over here. Hands up, private sector. You can be private. Go private. You make more money. Please get to your assembly points as quickly as possible. We can then adjust the numbers. Policymaker, go on. Okay. So, we need you to join a group. You're in this group. Great. Excellent. Good. So that's a nice number. Which group are you in? Great. So we have, and which group are you in? Good. Excellent. Good. Good. This is not bad. Not bad. Okay. So, I need one volunteer from each of the... I need one volunteer from each of these 3 groups to join the policymakers. Who Who has ambitions to be a policymaker? Yes. Excellent. And from this group, who wants to join the policy group? Who has ambitions in the policy arena? No, you are many. You have some secret friends. Oh, they're going. You can stay as you are. Would you like to join a group? Can you join the policy group? I think you'd be well placed in that. Yeah. Could we have one volunteer to be a policy person? Hey, hello. Who would like to be a policy person? Just for today. Okay. Giacomo. I'm sorry. No, you just need to participate. No, you're in the home team, so you... Okay, we're oriented. Yeah, so we started at, let's say we're starting now. So we need 40 minutes, so that's 10:20. Hey, hello. Do you want to be private sector or do you want to be policy maker? Go. So you're started. It's 9:40. We have until 10:20 to go over the 3 questions. On timing, we have it's 9:40. We have until 10:20, so we'll have the full 40 minutes, despite the fuss in getting everyone organised. So on timing, it's 9:40. We have until 10:20, despite taking a long time to get organised. I'll join you shortly. I'll just put the questions up. In case you've forgotten the questions, they're up on the slide there. policymakers, you can't trust them, can you? The rapporteur of the policy group has gone to the toilet. So let's all wait for this person, and when he comes back into the room, applaud him. Could you all, we're going to have the feedback now. So while we're waiting for the person to come back from the toilet, could you all make a welcome committee around the policymaker chart? Please cluster around and sit somewhere where you can see and hear what's happening. Okay, round of applause. Yes. The policymaker feedback. We'll go around each of the groups, so 3 minutes. We'll ask the person who's volunteered kindly to give the feedback to do that, but I'll give everyone else in the group a brief opportunity just to add anything. So, policymakers, how did you feel?
So we had a very interesting discussion. I have to start to say that I'll be probably more confident on saying our needs than talking about the solutions, but or talking about what was done, and I will explain why. So we feel that we need a framework to join these two communities, the government community with the geographic information community. And more than that, well, the reason for that is because we need a more awareness by the government people on the geographical information domain, and we also need more awareness of the GI community of the government actions. But probably more than a framework, we also need some kind of common legal framework and governance. So I think we missed that. Another thing we have discussed that maybe it's important to think about is on how can the government service have transparent access control conditions, for example, in the social media. Okay, so we give also some, we need some help on that. And regarding so when open data is used by the private sector to create products, sometimes we feel that there is a need to define better what is the data policy of these added value products. So we think that we should discuss with more detail on the data policy of the chain of adding value, chain. Okay. And also, we know that, as I will see that when you go to the second part, so what has been done to solve some of these needs, one thing that was done is this ISA Spatial Information Service working group. And it's going to continue in ISA Square. Now, the thing is, for this working group, usually there is only one representative from the member state that is going. And so maybe, like every 3 meetings of this working group or 1 time per year, there will be a possibility for going 2 persons from each member state funded by the European Commission, because if you give it to the member states, some member states do not have the money. This is the case of my country, Portugal. So if Commission only pays to one person, there is only one person that goes. So we think that if in this working group we have one meeting, you know, every 3 meetings with both representatives, that could help to promote the discussion at home. So we also know that in the arena, the webinars that have been carried out to show interactions and possibility to communicate between the e-government people and INSPIRE have been quite successful. Some people have been attending the webinars. There are some, there are these country studies on barriers to access to services. But again, because there is a lack of awareness of these two communities, for example, in my case, I never saw these country reports. I don't know that they exist. Okay, and then help me here. We think that this thing of the data policy has somehow been addressed in this transportation pilot example. Started to be analyzed. So there is already some work that has been done. Now, what we propose to fill in the gaps. We think that when...
Pick out 2 or 3.
Oh, I'm running out of time? Yes. Okay. Okay. So we think it might be important to have in the INSPIRE GeoPortal, in the INSPIRE site, to have a section on the government. Okay? Because if you go to the INSPIRE, you don't see anything about e-government. So I think we should go there. Promote and enable information flow between INSPIRE and eGov, sharing experience in reusing the INSPIRE principles. So I already saw this one, to have meeting these working group that we already have, that both representatives from geographic information community and e-government community can go. We think that there are several products that were already created in the EULF and ARE3NA, but there is not enough awareness again. So we need to promote those products. Extend the access control to other member states. There are some funding opportunities, but the member states are not very familiar with them. So we need more ways of awareness of these funding opportunities. And of course, continue with the analysis of the feedback of the added value products to the public sector that provided the original data. I think I asked my colleagues if you want to add something.
No, I think that was very good. A round of applause for the Okay, who's on for the data providers? Well, looks a very open corner here. Then people run away. Option statements.
So, yes, for the data providers, so what are our leads? So the first lead that actually was mentioned
in public administrations, those providing government services, using location information?
Good morning, everyone. Yes. This is a compilation of a lot of structured minds, I think. When we have the three questions here, the needs, what is EULF ARE3NA already doing, what are the existing gaps to fill, I think we have made a few tracks here. The first track is about INSPIRE and the government that is, there is a need to get them closely together, in fact. There are some needs that are to be filled from citizens, from organizations, from businesses. There is a need to make the leap to INSPIRE, and what is the benefit of INSPIRE, in fact, when we are developing services as an e-government. And I disagree with my colleague over there. I think there is a need for public services, for sure. That's my personal opinion. Okay. So there is a need to get them closely together, and what is EULF ARE3NA already doing? They are making quite some blueprints and knowledge bases and INSPIRE in practice, for example, so they are making some guidelines, that's true. But there are some gaps still to be filled in. We think that the INSPIRE people, the people that are modeling, that are making the models there, they have to understand also these needs from these citizens, these organizations, and these businesses. So I think the model can be explained as a solution to certain needs, to certain requirements. And that's important because that's for the public services then very important to get some explanation, to explain this to the people that has to provide some data. That was one track. Second track is about privacy. There is a need to have some privacy guidelines there about some data for, in fact, but also the services that are providing these data. There's a need for some harmonization in licensing across Europe. And EULF and ARE3NA is making some privacy guidances now. But we have seen the guidance right over here, and it's a bit of lacking practical cases, practical good practices, really use cases, really, and we have to collaborate with them to improve these guidances. I think based on good practices and suggestions and some requirements of the users, maybe we can improve together with these instances. Maybe we can improve these guidances. That's the second track. Third track is about open data and open source. We have talked over there about open data, but also open source is important. There is some need when you're beginning a project, when you're developing something. In fact, you have to make the decision before you start. Will I provide this as an open source project, for example? And this is also where EULF ARE3NA is making some guidance, but also there some good practices, some achievements of real projects in the member states is very important. It can be part of training and knowledge-based and knowledge improvement, in fact. That was a third track. Maybe about, I think, yeah, there was also another issue about open data, and there are different departments sometimes involved in these open data or software providing or services providing, and there is also a need for guidance there to go to the higher management. In fact, to convince the higher management that these departments have to make some open data and make these services available across these departments within the country, but also for cross-border purposes. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
We all use those services, we can't do without them. And finally, digital single market. Is Europe heading in the right direction? And more importantly, are we providing something in EULF and ARE3NA to help you?
Okay. I want to say first, thank you, Stan. Thank you, Jeff. You took a lot of my presentation already. But the vision from, in our work group, from the perspective of the private sector, well, what we need is simply easy access to what is available. Actually, INSPIRE is not important for us. We just need it. Another thing which is very important is if you, as a government, want the private sector involved, then it's necessary to have some rules and some clear expectations about what are the roles that each party has to play. A private entrepreneur will not invest in something he's not sure about the possibility to get his money back. So we should know that if data becomes available, what is expected of us, what are the services that are going to be built? Stan told it already. Is government going into competition or not? Where is the zone that public sector can act, and where is the zone where the government will take its responsibility? Data availability, for instance. We want the data which is available. We want to know how available, how many percentage of time the data will be available. What is the quality of the data? Who is responsible for the quality of the data? Who is responsible for the services? That, I think, is a discussion that is not yet clear today. Of course, we want a harmonized market. That's not the problem of the private sector. The private sector can help there, but if we want to create services that are available all over Europe, it should be harmonized. It should be one big data infrastructure. So that is what, and actually what is needed, and it's also told, awareness. We are living in a very complex world. Things are coming more and more together. What businesses are doing, what governments are doing. So we should start to understand each other. And actually, it's very simple. If I want to use something, well, I type it in a search engine. I say, I need data for air quality. And I have to know how I should use it. That is what I expect. So that's, okay. Then what the needs are, what is already done, I just passed the microphone to somebody else who can talk, okay.
So regarding ARE3NA, we have worked on allowing better access to the data with some studies on access control and licensing, but still there are studies and demos. And we are also worked on the harmonization part with the registry product and also regarding the data availability with the Geodata IP to link it with open data. And regarding EULF.
Yes, so considering other issues like quality of data, you know, and collaboration between the private and public sector with the pilots, we are going in this direction. Some other things need to be done because there is all the issue of location, you know, of the privacy and that need to be done. It will be part of the last section where we need to fulfill, which will be the future.
So, what's the one biggest gap? The biggest gaps. Well, we selected three gaps that we think are important to address. Okay. One on the business side, one on the data side, and one on the technology side. So on the business side, we need some best practices and recommendations about business models, the roles, that who's expected to do what, and what should be do so we respect each other's roles. That's very important for the private sector to invest. Also on the business side, there are licensing issues. We need to make sure that it's known what the licensing is, and also on the regulatory part, legal part, and I think that was mentioned as well. So that's on the business side to make that working. Then on the data side, improving data quality is also a big issue. Partly declaring what is the quality, but also improving it. And we heard from here that there is actually an interest in cooperating about how can we improve the data. So that's something that we should be working on. So how can we help each other to improve the data quality? And then on the technology side, we want to single out the single sign-on issue as a very important issue. So?
Very practical.
Okay, I'll wrap up very briefly. I mean, I'd personally like to thank everyone for those contributions. It was a tough brief, and you gave us some very good feedback. The team will take all of that away and build in your ideas into our thinking and the Forward Work programme. And we do hope that you stay connected with all of this and make good use of it. In terms of what I heard, I think I heard that, yes, frameworks are useful in this area. Guidance is useful. Tools are useful. All of these are needed, so we've started in the right direction. You've given us some ideas of further guidance and interventions that we might make. We must make them practical. We must deal with specific use cases. And we must focus on awareness and on communication and on training and facilitating capacity building. So we've got to get out there more than we have done already. So those messages, I think, are great for us. You've given us some specific ideas in terms of guidance and interventions that we hadn't thought of, and that's wonderful. So thank you for that. So I'd like to thank you all, and one more round of applause, and we'll leave it.
One last thing, as I mentioned before, we're running a game, but because you have been such generous with your time, I have some headphones from ISA that are part of our prizes. So anybody who would like a headphone, I'll walk towards